Welcome back to Balls Deep with Devin and Jovan. I'm your host, Devin. He's my co-host, Jovan. We're a bit excited for today's episode as we have a couple of guests lined up for you. But before we get started, just make sure to like, follow, and subscribe.
The impossible has happened! Unbelievable! No record for human life! Off to the races, can they catch it?
Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs to the 50. He runs to the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms. Bare-chested. Somebody stop
Look
that
out,
man.
here comes the blue coat,
Oh,
Kevin.
they got him.
Here
They're
comes the
coming
blue
from the left.
coats.
Oh, and they tackle him at the 40-yard line.
I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep in love. I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep in love.
And now for our feature presentation.
Balls Deep with Devin and Jovan.
To start today's episode, we're going to talk about some boxing. Recently, we had, the unified lightweight championship fight between Teofimo Lopez and Vasily Lomachenko. It was a big fight, obviously, leading up to it. It definitely lived up to the standings because it was a great fight. And we've seen, an upset. Teofimo Lopez came out on top, beating Lomachenko, which came to a surprise by many. I mean, he has been calling, Lomachenko out for a few years now, him and his father, but to finally get the opportunity to fight him and actually, go out and beat him, I didn't expect that. Many people didn't expect that, but he came out and proved himself, and started his legacy in a sense. But it was a great fight. I know Lomachenko came out and I guess he, didn't feel that the fight was scored correctly, which many agree. I think you mentioned that to me as well, which I agree. I think the scoring was, all over the place a bit. I had the fight scored 7-5 in Lopez's favor. I don't know what you had it scored as. What do you think of the fight? What you have it scored as? Yeah.
Ultimately, I mean, it was an amazing fight. I think it started really slow. Lomachenko wasn't really throwing much at all. So it was kind of easy for Teofimo to take those early rounds, like fairly easy because Lomachenko wasn't, throwing basically at all. I mean, and everybody was saying, he always he's known for starting slow. So it was really no surprise to people that he started slow. It was more of a surprise that it took as long for him to get going as it did. Usually it's only 3 to 4 rounds. I mean, he didn't really get going until the 7th. So really, I think that was his biggest downfall. It was a really close fight. I could see 7-5. I could also see 6-6 for a tie. I think the big difference, though, and the reason I think that the judges gave Teofimo the win, although I don't agree with the scoring at all, that scoring was way too far apart. The only reason I can see the judges obviously giving the win to Teofimo, and I'm not mad at it at all, because I would have honestly gave him the win as well, even though, like I said, it was definitely close enough, in my opinion, for a draw. Only reason I would have given him the win is because the rounds I think Teofimo won were more obvious, especially with Lomachenko not really throwing much in the beginning of the fight. He was winning them fairly easy, like I said. And then when it came to the later rounds, Lomachenko was winning them, but Teofimo was still getting hits in. He was making them close rounds. He was keeping the fight competitive, even in the rounds that it was kind of obvious he was losing. He was still giving him a fight.
They weren't easy rounds in Lomachenko's favor.
100%. And so I definitely could see why the judges would have probably a couple rounds where I would have gave it to Lomachenko. Maybe the judges kind of swayed differently. Especially I think a big round for Teofimo was the 12th round, where that one was clearly his. He was just, they were both tired, both after having great fights, but Teofimo was just kind of, sending shots, just trying to land everything. So, and he just looked like he wanted it more. So ultimately, I think Lomachenko, obviously, I agree with him. The scoring wasn't good, but ultimately, he still lost that fight, in my opinion. And I can 100% see why. Like I said, all the rounds that he won weren't as clear and obvious as, the ones that Teofimo won. So,
yeah, for me, I could see any score ranging from 6-6 to 8-4. But in my opinion, there was no way Lomachenko won. If anything, there was a draw. But I feel like Lopez, the right guy, won the fight regardless of the score. I just don't agree with the score. I know one judge scored it like 11-1, which I found crazy. But I think Lomachenko took too long to get going, and that ultimately played in his downfall. It partially could be because of his shoulder, because I know immediately after the fight he got shoulder surgery, and I guess that was an issue prior to the fight, and he threatened to pull to retire if they pulled him out of the fight, which was strange, but I guess he wanted to go through with it, and that just shows a lot about his heart and his passion for it. But I think I would like to see him go fully healthy, but I think Lopez, now getting the experience with him in the ring, is he's more at an advantage regardless. He's also younger, so he's only going to get wiser as things go on. But I think the right guy won the fight. I think Lomachenko, he's big on getting close and getting inside, and Lopez made sure of that, like to prevent that from happening by either hitting with a uppercut as he comes in, or a jab. I think he did really well in keeping his separation from him, and like you said, that 12th round just shows like he could easily just try to stay away from Lomachenko and go ahead with the win, but he was grinding it out and exchanging punches essentially. Clearly that was his round. I had 1 through 6 his round as well, and I had from 7 to 11 Lomachenko, and
I think. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I thought round 2 I gave to Lomachenko.
Oh yeah, round 2, yeah.
But also, I kind of think completely opposite of you. I think that if they do fight again, Vasile actually has the advantage, considering, like you said, Teofimo's young, but Lomachenko is probably the most technical boxer in the sport. So the more he gets to see of you, I think the worse off you are, and that's why he only starts to take fights later in the rounds. So I think that if he were to see him in a second fight, I mean, obviously Teofimo still could win. I mean, you could see from that fight, especially like I said, the 12th round, that he has a lot of heart. So I mean, it could still go his way. But I think the more that Lomachenko gets to see of you, the worse off that you are. So I honestly actually think that if they were to rematch and they were both healthy, I think Lomachenko wins that fight. But
yeah,
it was a great fight.
I mean, I agree with you that his experience and his technicality might help him win the second fight. I just think having that experience with him in the ring, it won't come as much of a surprise in a sense. Teofimo came out and said after the fight that he was expecting more from Lomachenko. He seemed, a lot more basic than he actually was preparing for, which I think partially was because of his injury. But I don't want to take away from that victory, because that victory was definitely more Lopez than it was Lomachenko. But I just think I wouldn't go out and talk a little too much, because I think they'll meet again eventually down the road. But I do think Lomachenko has got to earn his way back, especially after that fight.
Yeah. But with that being said, we're gonna move on to the NFL. Some pretty big news going on in the NFL. The Vikings just traded Yannick Ngakoue. They traded him to Baltimore Ravens, who on defense is really scary now. What do you think about the move? And from the Ravens' point of view, and also, from the Vikings' point of view.
So the move came out as a surprise to me, especially because they just acquired the guy like 2 months ago from the Jaguars. They traded away a second round pick, a 2021 second round pick, and a 2022 fifth round pick, conditional fifth round pick, in August. And then they just acquired a 2021 third and a 2022 conditional fifth from the Ravens just now. So the move for me, just as from the Vikings' point of view, like they're giving up on the season, they're waving the white flag. They're, in the words of Max Kellerman, sever for Trevor. I think they're essentially trying to get Trevor Lawrence in a Vikings uniform because Kirk Cousins just doesn't seem to be the guy in Minnesota. But yeah, they just seem to be giving up. So they seem to me it tells me this at this deadline they're going to be sellers, not buyers. So I can see a lot more moves coming from that team, especially like Anthony Harris, who's on franchise tag. I can see him possibly getting traded as well. So I just see them as more sellers. And then for the Ravens, they're definitely buyers. They're championship contenders, and they just got better on defense. I mean, now they have the tandem from, I think it was 2017 AFC Championship from the Jaguars. They got Calais Campbell and now Yannick Ngakoue. So they got Ngakoue to go across Matt Judon, which is scary. Patrick Queen can easily be, he's arguably the defensive rookie of the year. He's playing outstanding. And then you got that secondary who's just been phenomenal. So that team just got scarier. I don't know how they're fitting all this under the cap. But it could be partially because Lamar Jackson's still on his rookie deal. But I think, they're both teams are going in opposite directions, and it seems pretty evident.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that, the Ravens are trying to make moves because, I mean, they can beat almost any team on the field when they need to, obviously when they're playing at their best. But even as Lamar Jackson said, I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs seem to be their kryptonite. They can't seem to find a way to beat them. And, I mean, acquiring Yannick Ngakoue couldn't hurt. I mean, applying a lot more pressure to the offensive line, putting pressure on Patrick Mahomes, trying to get to the quarterback quicker. I mean, he's definitely a player that I could see being a difference maker in that matchup, in that potential matchup down the road, and finally getting over that hump and beating them. So I love this move by the Ravens. We know how great their defense is already, and then clearly, obviously, their offense run by Lamar Jackson. So I love this move by the Ravens. I'm on the same boat with you when it comes to the Vikings. Clearly, they're giving up on the season. I think that they're just, like you said, they're sellers, more so for the fact that not only because they're trying to kind of rebuild in the spots that they need, but also to have that, draft capital to where if they at any point really need to move up to possibly get their QB or any specific player really at any point, they're going to have those picks to be able to give up and jump on that QB if, they fall too far down the draft. So I think that's what the Vikings are doing, exactly what you said. Just they're giving up on the season. They're trying to acquire more draft picks to, get more players or, move up spots if they see fit later on.
Yeah, that draft capital is going to be definitely beneficial. Whether they decide to do a full rebuild or just rebuild that defense, because that defense is essentially what's hindering them outside of Kirk Cousins, because that offense is pretty good. It has the talent to be successful in the NFL with Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. It's pretty talented. But speaking of the Ravens, I do love the move as well. I love Yannick Ngakoue as a player. Like we mentioned in prior episodes, when he first got traded, I wanted the Giants to trade for him, and it didn't happen. So with that, the Ravens, in my opinion, won this trade. But they're also making moves on the offensive end. They just signed Des Bryant to their practice squad, which comes as a surprise. It's been like 2.5 years since he's played a snap of football. I know he signed with the Saints last year, but then he got injured prior to the season, so that was unable to happen. I love the move. I'm happy for the guy. I'm happy he's getting another opportunity. I hope he gets an opportunity, in the big leagues, obviously not just the practice squad. I hope he makes it to the official roster and also get some PT, just to, show how much juice he has left in the tank. but he's gotten a bad rep from his leaving the Cowboys. I kind of want to see him redeem himself and show that he's not as bad as people claim him to be.
Yeah, I mean, Dez Bryant. I love this signing, honestly. I think Dez Bryant. I've always loved Dez Bryant as a football player, even though he was a Dallas Cowboy. He's definitely somebody that I wish I could see in a Giants uniform. But especially with the passion he plays with, he's definitely a guy that I feel like the Ravens are probably bringing in now, leaving him on the practice squad, trying to get him some reps. And like you said, he hasn't played in 2.5 years. So he's definitely a guy that I see they'll probably try to get reps for, and then later on in the season when they're making that playoff push, maybe call him up and try to get some like you said, some of that juice left out of him for a nice playoff push. Try to compete with that high-powered offense, like I said, in the Chiefs again, because they're obviously they don't lack anywhere on defense. It's really their offense is going to be able to keep up, and I mean. With the addition of Dez Bryant late in the season, that obviously be a big help, especially how good he is as a deep threat and as a red zone threat. I mean, I love the move.
Yeah, and then so from one receiver with bad rep to another receiver with a bad rep. So today the news came out that Antonio Brown, he has signed a 1-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bless you. I know in recent days, Adam Schefter, he reported that the Seahawks were positioned to make a big push for Antonio Brown now that his suspension essentially is over and he'll be eligible after Week 8. But then he went a different direction and signed with the Bucs, which came as a surprise to me because Bruce Arians came out earlier in the season and he essentially turned it down, saying he wants nothing to do with him, even though Brady was pushing for the move. I'm not a fan of the move, honestly. I think obviously he's going to a contender and he's going with Brady, who he for the short glimpse that he was in New England was very successful with. I think he should have went to Seattle. I think that would have been the better move, just because Seattle I think could have carved out a bigger role for him in their offense. They could have definitely used him a bit more. Just because Tampa Bay has too many weapons, and I think he's not going to get as much of the target share that he's accustomed to. But with Seattle, I think Seattle would have welcomed him with open arms. They're like I mentioned before with the Jamal Adams trade. They're known for taking in those big personalities and kind of embracing it. Pete Carroll is a player's coach. I think having that kind of atmosphere and having Russell Wilson as your quarterback, I felt like that would have been a great tandem, and then having DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett there to help out, I think he would have been more successful in Seattle. But even with Tampa, I think he'll do well. I'm not saying he won't. I just don't think it'll be the move to help him out, but also push Tampa Bay over the hump to make it to Super Bowl. I don't even think they make it to Super Bowl even with Antonio Brown on their team.
Yeah, I mean, from a fantasy standpoint, I love this move. I have Tyler Lockett on my team, so I don't want that wide receiver core getting, too loaded, too backed up. I need him to get his touches. But I agree. I mean, I think obviously he would have done a lot. He would have fared a lot better in Seattle. They could have used him a lot more. I don't know how much better this makes the Bucs. It's really kind of hard to judge, really, in my opinion. I don't know how much better it makes them, although now it's going to be kind of tough. You got to double somebody. I mean, you got Mike Evans, you got AB, and Chris Godwin is no scrub. So it's going to be
if healthy though. If
healthy, but
if healthy, there'll be a problem.
Definitely, and that's really where it lies. I mean, can the Bucs stay healthy? Can their defense kind of keep up this astounding play that they've had? I mean, we saw what they did against the Packers, kept Aaron Rodgers in that amazing Packers offense to only 10 points, while Aaron Rodgers is having an MVP season. So that was a shocker. But I think, how are they going to be able to keep up that defensive play throughout the season when they got to beat teams like the Saints, or if they have to see the Packers again, if they have to face. I mean, there's so many high-powered offenses in the NFC, so it's going to be tough. Even having to face Seattle, I mean, that's going to be a tough matchup for them.
I mean, I think the receiver room is scary with Evans, Godwin, now Antonio Brown. They even got Scotty Miller, who's flying under the radar. He seems to be Tom Brady's new Julian Edelman. But I think the receiver room is scary, but the injuries that they've dealt with thus far needs to get cleaned up if they want to see a Super Bowl opportunity or a Super Bowl appearance. Just because Godwin hasn't seemed to be staying healthy, and whenever they get Godwin back, Evans is hurt, or even now Leonard Fournette is a little banged up. So they just need to stay healthy. It seems like they get one back and then they lose one. They haven't really seen the full set of weapons all at once because now OJ Howard is out for season. So now that's one less weapon as well. So it's another weapon for Brady. So I'm not mad about it because I got Brady in fantasy. So like a fantasy perspective, I'm not mad at the move, but I'm just thinking more of the benefit to obviously Antonio Brown looking to bounce back obviously from where his past situations before the suspension.
I mean, it's definitely good for them. I mean, like we said, I mean, their biggest problem on offense right now is staying healthy. So obviously having Antonio Brown and having another receiver there for when there are guys out is only going to help them.
Alrighty. So with that, we're gonna be back with more Balls Deep, and we'll be joined by a few guests. So stay tuned.
Yo, what's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champ, the flyweight champ, and the bantamweight champion of the world. In other words, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Man, that's right. Anyhow, I want to give a special shout out to Devin and Jovan. I know you guys have started your podcast, Balls Deep, with Devin and Jovan. I want to congratulate you guys, and I want to tell everybody that's out there that doesn't know about them to you guys follow them, subscribe to them, and you guys make sure to follow them on all your social media platforms, because if you don't, you guys can bend the knee to Triple C.
All right, guys. So we're back. Nico, I don't know what the hell he's doing, but as you already know from past episodes, Nico, you're very familiar with him, but we're also joined by my cousin Eli. He's a big-time wrestler. So I don't know all his accolades. I'm sure he can name them for you, but he's currently in college. Nico said he looks like he's in jail, but that's another story. But, hey, so we got two mixed martial artists joining us for today to talk about, was it UFC 254?
Yeah.
So UFC 254, we're going to talk about the main card main events, which is, Khabib Gaethje and Whitaker Cannonier. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Cannonier, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So we're going to talk about those two fights. But before we get started, we want to, ask you a few questions outside of UFC. So let's say, first one, how about them Lakers? Eli's a Celtics fan, so he as soon as Lakers won, he texted me all salty. I don't know.
They all caught up. We gotta get one. Get one.
And then the next question was, so right before the break, we talked about Antonio Brown's to the Bucks. I know we know Nico, you're a Patriots fan, but you're also from Tampa currently, or you live in Tampa, I should say, not from, but you live in Tampa. So how do you feel about that, Mr. Tampa Bay?
I mean, that's crazy, bro. I mean, I don't know why they got him, but that's better for Brady. More weapons. So hey, I'm glad all this shit's going on here in Tampa because it's just right now everybody's going crazy about sports. It's pretty cool, people see people happy about like football and shit now. So I'm happy. We'll see what happens. But I'm still a Patriots fan, so I hope the Patriots win anyways. I hope we get them in the Super Bowl though, and then we beat them.
And what do you think about the move, Eli?
Honestly, I think he was better off in Seattle. There's just too many moving pieces in Tampa for him to be there. He would have been better off with DK and Lockett because they're good players, but they're like less high of a caliber as like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Well, not DK. DK's just ridiculous. He's out of this world.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I said that before the break that I think he should have went to Seattle. But Fibo seems to think otherwise for fantasy purposes because he has Tyler Lockett. Well, now that we've asked that, let's just jump into UFC, and that's the whole reason why we're here. But let's talk about the co-main event first. The Whitaker Cannonier fight. What do you guys think about that move? Let's start with you, Nico. I know you're big on I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't want to keep butchering it.
Cannonier?
Cannonier.
Yeah.
So I know you're big on him. So what do you think?
I'm actually not that big on Cannonier. I think I'm probably bigger on Whitaker, to be honest with you. I think I've actually been watching some of Cannonier fights, and he's impressive, man, for sure. He can move around very well. He has good footwork. I was watching him when he was a heavyweight, and he moved very well as a heavyweight. So, I think he could give Whitaker problems. But like Whitaker kind of said, I just don't see him being better than Whitaker in any aspect of the fight. I mean, I really haven't seen Cannonier grapple so much, but I know Whitaker's grappling is pretty good. It's a hard fight to pick for me, but if I think Whitaker takes it. I just maybe because of the experience, I think maybe he takes it. But I mean, to be honest, as much as I like Whitaker, I kind of want Cannonier to win, just so I could see him fight Adesanya. But at the same time, I think Whitaker is gonna win, so I think it's gonna be a rematch between Whitaker and Adesanya.
I think regardless if he wins or not, he's gonna fight Adesanya eventually. Especially since Adesanya seems big on his fight style and big on him. I think it'll happen eventually. It just might take a little longer if he doesn't obviously get the win.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you think about the fight, Eli? I know we texted it a little bit the other day. I said actually I think this fight is going to be fight of the night, or it might be even a better fight than the main event, which everyone seems to be excited for. But let's hear your opinion about it.
I think if Jared the Killer Gorilla is going to win, it's going to be in the first round. He's got to knock him out.
Wow, big prediction!
He's got to knock him out. He's been
prediction on Balls Deep.
He's been fighting really good since his drop to middleweight. Yeah, middleweight. So he's won his last 3 fights. I think he's got it. I want to see him win. I want to see him versus Adesanya.
Yeah, I want to see that too. So yeah.
Yes. I mean, I remember last time Nico was on and we talked about we were talking about Adesanya's victory and like what's next and things like that. I came on and said that I think Whitaker's going to win. And I hope that he won the fight just for the simple fact that I want to see him get another fight against Adesanya. Because I think it wouldn't pan out as it did the first time around. I think he won't get knocked out, and he has something to prove. I didn't say he was going to beat Adesanya now, but I think it just wouldn't be, it'd be a better fight the second round. But I think if Cannonier loses, I think Darren Till will be obviously a good opponent for the next person to fight Adesanya, because Adesanya is interested in both of their fight styles and kind of wants to fight either one. And I think they're both going to get their chance eventually. But I would like to see Whitaker get his rematch first. Jovan, I don't know how you feel about it, but
yeah, I mean, I'm almost inclined to pick with your cousin Eli. I think Cannonier is hungry. He's been fighting really well. But I don't think it's going to be in the first round. I honestly think this is going to be a dogfight. I think these guys are going to go at it. It's what Whitaker likes to do, is the kind of fight he likes to get into, and I don't see Cannonier backing down from that. I think he has a little advantage in the length. I think he's going to be able to keep up with him. I got Cannonier winning. I think it's going to be a great fight, and like you said, I could definitely see the potential of fight of the night here.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. With I mean, you guys make a good point because Cannonier has shown he has power. And if he comes out strong, he could definitely put Whitaker away. That's a very realistic chance. I just think the experience might put Whitaker just in a little ahead.
I have Whitaker as well. If I didn't make that very clear, but I think the only way Whitaker loses is by knockout. Yeah. And I just don't see it happening unless he just gets hit with that one fighter's punch. That just will slump him, but I think Whitaker will ultimately win in decision. I think it'll go all 5 rounds, and like Jovan said, I think it's going to be a dogfight. Cannonier seems to be flying under the radar, because a lot of people don't really know about him, and if they do know about him, he's not that flashy fighter. Especially because he dropped down in weight, and no one really knew about him in the division, but hey, he's been knocking dudes out left and right. So
exactly.
someone's getting knocked out, and I don't know if it's going to be Whitaker, but Eli seems to think otherwise.
He has short fights. He has like an average of a 8 to 10 minute fight span.
Yeah. So what happens when it goes longer than 8 to 10
I think
minutes?
he's knocking him out. He's on fire. He's on fire.
I mean,
He's
I'm
on fire.
not saying your prediction is terrible. I'm just saying, but he's going to get tested this fight because now I think it's going to go longer than his typical fights. So let's see about that endurance, that durability, and like Nico said, that experience. Is it going to hinder him or will it, help him?
Yeah, for sure.
So then now we're going to move on to, the main event of the evening, the fight that everyone's been talking about. I know Eli, he texted me immediately the other day. That's how the whole conversation started. He was like, yo, what round you got my boy Khabib in? So he didn't even give Gaethje a chance. But I do think it's like Jovan said about the last fight. I think it's going to be a dogfight. Me and Eli talked about it a little bit. I think it'll be at least 3 rounds. I low-key feel like it's going to go the length. I do have Khabib winning the fight just because I feel like Gaethje's going to give him a challenge because he's probably the most experienced wrestler that he's fought. And the only chance I really see him having of winning is if he keeps the fight in the middle of the octagon. If he goes against the cage, he's screwed. And also, Khabib is going to get tested in terms of stepping in that zone where Gaethje likes to, throw them haymakers left and right. As you've seen in that Ferguson fight, he doesn't seem to slow down because he's throwing haymaker after haymaker. So, like we talked about the last fight, he just has a puncher's chance, essentially. It just takes one punch to knock someone out. So, I'd hate to see one of these guys lose just because I like both fighters. Especially, I like Khabib now even more. I feel for the guy being that his dad passed away. So I would like to see him win one for his father. Also, I'd like to see him fight GSP because that seems like it's inevitable if he wins. But I feel like if he loses, everyone's not really going to give Gaethje the credit that he deserves. Everyone's going to talk about how he lost the fight and use the death of his father as an excuse. Like I get it plays a lot on the mental aspect, but you also got to give the man his credit if he does come out with the victory. So I just feel like if he's not gonna get his credit if he loses or he wins the fight, I should say, in terms of Gaethje.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly these are probably 2 of the most mentally tough fighters in the UFC. And I think this is definitely Gaethje is definitely the toughest opponent that Khabib's seen thus far. We've never seen Khabib uncomfortable in the octagon. I think he's got the best chance at making him uncomfortable, especially since, he's been wrestling almost all his life just as Khabib has. Khabib probably has wrestled a lot longer because I think Justin started when he was 8. But also there's a lot of people saying that it's a different type of wrestling. You know what I mean? Like what Khabib does compared to what Justin does it's wrestling, but it's just a whole different level of wrestling. It's way more technical. I mean, there's guys that have said we haven't even seen, Khabib's full bag of tricks, and to hear that, it's just scary considering how dominant he's been. It's really hard to pick against him. But if Justin is capable of getting back up when Khabib is able to take him down, because that's really been the toughest thing is nobody can get up back off their feet. So is Justin going to be able to get back up? And when he does, how is Khabib going to fare in the stand-up game? Because not only is Gaethje powerful, he's very accurate. So for me, this is a really tough fight to pick. But I feel it's so tough to pick against Khabib at this point, just because he's been so dominant. So I'm going to just go with Khabib, but I won't be surprised at all if Gaethje wins this fight.
The only person really to answer that wrestling question would be the wrestler in the room. So, Mr. Eli, care to explain?
Gaethje, he All-American. He's got an incredible resume. He defends 80% of takedowns, but I don't know. Khabib's takedowns are just different. He's just a different breed. If he's got to, again, with the knockouts, I think he's got to knock him out to beat him. only one person has won a round against Khabib, and that's Conor McGregor. So he's got to keep his distance, defend the takedowns, and try to rattle Khabib.
Yeah, and I think Cormier mentioned like he's never felt someone as strong as Khabib. Up in unless like he said his strength is like someone in heavyweight.
Yeah.
So to compare that, I don't know if Gaethje's experienced that with the other fighters, but that's pretty scary just to think about. And even when he was talking about, okay, can I do another breakdown of your fights? And he said, yeah. He goes, but I'm gonna have to tell people your secrets. He goes, tell them. They know, but they can't stop. And I'm like, damn, that boy's bad. He's like,
Yeah. That's the thing. I think that's the thing about Khabib. It's just exactly what he's gonna do, but he's still gonna do it. And like it's just it doesn't matter. It was kind of like with GSP, but he took it to maybe a different level. For me, I mean, I feel like this fight is definitely a fight of like what ifs. Like if you thought maybe the McGregor fight was that, this is even worse. Like with McGregor, he only it was literally. Is he gonna be able to get up? Is he gonna be able to beat him up when he's there standing? But now it's like that, but it's different now. Gaethje's probably gonna be able to get up. Gaethje, he probably will get up. He's not gonna be like Conor. And to be honest, I'm more scared of Gaethje striking at this point than Conor's. I mean, because Gaethje only throws like real powerful shots. Every shot he's taking, he throws is hard,
so
man.
accurate too.
Oh yeah, man. And like his last fight, he showed that he could be more patient and not gas like he used to before. And I think that's another question too. I think Khabib. I think Khabib will take him down. I think that's kind of a fact now. Khabib will take him down, and I think Gaethje will be able to get back up. Now the question is, how much is Gaethje going to be able to get back up and not be taken back down? And if he can't do that, like he might be able to get Khabib tired, towards the end of the fight, because you're going for a lot of takedowns gets you tired. Even if you're Khabib, he's gonna get tired eventually, So I think it's so many variables in this fight. It's just crazy, and I do think it's gonna be his toughest test so far. And but with all that said, I still can't see Khabib losing. I just can't. And until I see somebody beat Khabib, I'm not gonna pick against him. It's just as simple as that. Like Khabib is just. He's just too good at what he does. You know what he's gonna do, but he's still gonna do it, and he's just he's just in a different level right now. And then in terms of it's not just his wrestling, it's just his all around like game. He knows what to do. Like he stood around up with Conor, which was supposed to be the best striker in the world, and he was fine. He didn't get hurt. He even dropped.
Striking's just gotten better and better.
Yeah,
as his fights went on. Like I seen that breakdown that Cormier did of the Conor McGregor fight. Where he was, constantly taking him down. So then he fainted, like if he was going to go for a takedown, and Conor dropped his arms, and he came around and hit him right in the jaw. So, he's super smart of a fighter. What scares me is Gaethje came out and said that he didn't even go back and watch Khabib's fights at all. He said, I watched them as a fan,
He's lying.
and I need to go back. So that kind of worries me. But I think the only way he has, I think the strategy going in is obviously keep it in the middle of the ring and not on the fence. But he's going to try to, keep him on the feet. He's going to want to stand and strike with him. He's going to wrestle when needed, obviously, because it's going to eventually hit the mat. But I don't think he's going to initiate that. I think it's going to be Khabib that's going to try to take him down, take him to the mat, just to your point, Nico, to tire him out, just so that it's easier for him down at the end of the ending, the championship rounds, you can say, the fourth and fifth rounds. Because it's going to help him in terms of striking in the later rounds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean another big thing I think for Gaethje is because I don't think that Khabib's going to want to stand with him. Like I said, he's too powerful, he's too accurate. Khabib's
I wouldn't want to
the floor. But the big key is how much damage is Gaethje going to be able to do while they're standing. Because in my opinion, I think if he does enough damage, in the stand-up game, he could definitely, waver Khabib a little bit going onto the ground. Hitting him with those hard, accurate punches could definitely take some of the wind out behind Khabib. Make his ground game a little less, a little less rough on him. I mean, those shots are not easy to take. So getting him with some good ones before he's able to get you down is a big key. I mean, you got to really land a lot of shots to, keep him off his day game, keep him, kind of on his toes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only thing that's the only thing that Khabib has struggled with a little bit. Just maybe like a good striker like Michael Johnson that was able to tag him once, but Poirier was able to tag him once too, and obviously Conor did okay for one round, but yeah, I mean yeah, exactly. I mean, but I think Gaethje, that's what I'm saying. I think Gaethje has that good chance because he has that good striking. He has a good chance of hurting him, and he hurts people more than the other guys. He'll hurt him.
I think he's the most well-rounded fighter that could be fought.
Yeah.
With McGregor, I had McGregor winning that fight,
Yeah.
but that's because I was expecting more of a striking. But we know what happens when you take him to the ground. He really has no ground game.
Yeah.
So I think Gaethje, with his wrestling background, he stands the best chance of dethroning Khabib.
Yeah, for sure.
And I like that he's not really talking shit. I think he's very humble and he respects Khabib. He's not overthinking the fight. It seems like he's not overlooking Khabib. He's taking it for what he is. Like the one move I liked is when they were taking the picture on the beach, and they gave him the belts to take a picture, and he kind of gave the belt back. He's like, I don't want that shit. I want that shit. And he pointed at the belt. Then Khabib looked at him and was like, "You're the champion." And he was like, "Whatever." And so, just a sign of respect is dope. But hey, I think that'll play in his favor in the fight. Just because you know what Khabib does when he doesn't like you at all.
Double smash.
When he was fucking beating the shit out of Conor, he goes, "We talk. It's time to talk." And then Conor, as the round ends, goes, "It's business." But he really can't stand him. He can't even say Conor's name. So I think it's gonna play in his favor because he's not gonna try to break his neck. So.
Hey, we'll see. But hey, I'm telling you, man, I think Khabib's gonna still be a champion at the end of the night.
Yeah.
I mean, we all seem to have. We all seem to have Khabib winning the fight unless Gaethje knocks him out. It seems like.
And the crazy thing is that we've all said that he's gonna be his toughest test, but we all pick Khabib. It's crazy because that's just how good he is. That's just how good Khabib is.
It's exactly like you said, Nico. Until you see him lose, you're not gonna pick against him because it's just hard to see it. Even as talented as Gaethje is, and he is talented, it's not taking nothing away from him. All of us picking him. It's just. It's tough to see him lose because that's how good he is as well. That's how good as a champion he's been. That's how dominant a fighter he's been. So
yeah,
it's like the fucking Undertaker. I mean,
Yeah.
Until he loses, you can't pick against him.
Yeah.
And when he does, we all gonna look like that one guy in the crowd, super shocked, like what the fuck just happened. So we're all excited. I'm excited for the pay-per-view. We all seem to be excited. Guys, make sure you tune in. I mean, it's an earlier pay-per-view than we were accustomed to. Jovan actually told me because I would have missed the whole pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Prelims start at 12. Main card starts at 2. So make sure to tune in. But before we leave, let's start with you, Eli. Do you have anything you want to promote? Anything?
No.
You sure? We know you stream now.
I retired from that.
You don't want people to go watch your matches in college? Nothing?
Maybe Castleton Wrestling.
All right, throw out
There
your
you go.
Instagram so people
There
can
you
follow you.
All right.
Are you going to tell us yours?
Oh, my Instagram?
Yeah.
Oh, EC380.
EC380. All right. Nico, you got anything to promote?
Hey, nothing, man. Just like the race one, like I said, against the Yankees. Now we're in the World Series. The Lightning one, we might have 2 champions in Tampa this year. Maybe if the Bucks win 3, bro. Tampa is hot right now, bro. You guys gotta move here. I'm telling you, man. Yo,
Yeah, you guys are hot with that.
You
guys are hot with that Corona.
Hey, it don't matter, bro. We only immune to that. And follow me on Instagram like always. Nico Bancalari. Hopefully they put it somewhere again, So
Okay, you gotta spell it out. Spell it out. For me.
Come on, bro. NICOBANCALARI. You already know.
All right, we'll throw it in the description just in case you don't understand his accent. But as always, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure to go like, follow, and subscribe. Hey, the episode will be dropping per usual, and our weekly pick'em will be dropping before Sunday's 1 o'clock games. So stay tuned for that as well. Giovanni, you want to say anything before we leave?
Not much. Just thanks for watching. As always, follow, like, subscribe. Show these guys some love on their pages. When Eli starts streaming again, when he comes out of retirement like Jordan, make sure you show him some love as well. So that's all.
Alrighty. So with that being said, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.
You're talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep. We're talking about balls deep in love. I'm talking about balls deep. My boy's talking about balls deep. We're talking about balls deep in love.